Caitlin Clark just watched Alanna Smith slide under her feet on a three-point attempt, landing directly on her surgically repaired knee, the same knee, the one that already cost her 27 games last season. The arena went silent. Fever fans held their breath. And then Clark did something that has the entire WNBA in chaos. She limped to the microphone after the game and broke her silence on the league's corrupt referees. She named names. She called out the committee that's been protecting physical play at the expense of players' safety. And she made it clear she's done being quiet. The corrupt narrative that has followed her since college, she just confirmed every word of it. Fans are outraged, the league is scrambling, and Caitlin Clark is no longer protecting anyone but herself.
The Gainbridge Fieldhouse crowd had been waiting 9 months for this moment, since July 2025, when a groin injury cut Clark's sophomore season to just 13 games. Fever fans had been counting down the days until their superstar would step back onto her home court. April 30, 2026, the preseason finale against the Dallas Wings, and Clark was giving them everything they wanted. She dropped 14 points in the first quarter alone. By halftime, she had 19. She was moving without hesitation, attacking the basket, pulling up from deep, looking every bit like the player who had taken the league by storm as a rookie. The fans were electric. The building was alive. Then came the third quarter. At the 7:51 mark, Clark rose up for a step-back three-pointer, the kind of shot she's made thousands of times, the kind that made her famous. Alanna Smith, the Wings forward and reigning co-defensive player of the year, was closing out hard. Too hard. As Clark descended, Smith's foot slid directly into her landing zone. Clark's surgically repaired knee buckled. She crumpled to the floor and immediately grabbed her leg. The arena went silent. For several agonizing seconds, the time it took for the whistle to blow and the referees to gather, no one in Gainbridge Fieldhouse breathed. The medical staff rushed onto the court. Fans held their breath, remembering the groin injury that had stolen her 2025 season, the 27 games she had watched from the bench while her team made a playoff run without her. The officials reviewed the play. The crowd waited. And then the announcement came. Smith was assessed a flagrant 1 foul. Clark didn't stay down. She didn't limp to the locker room. She didn't call for a stretcher. She walked to the free throw line on her own power, wincing with every step, and knocked down 2 of her 3 free throws, because that's what she does. She gets up, she makes her shots, she keeps playing. But here's what happened next that changed everything. After the game, with her knee already swelling and the training staff hovering nearby, Clark sat down in front of the microphones, and for the first time in her professional career, she didn't hold back. She didn't give diplomatic answers. She didn't protect the league. She broke her silence on the officiating that has haunted her since she stepped onto a WNBA court. "I thought the refs did a really good job tonight, actually, and that's kind of been their focus going into this season. There's a committee of people that really wanted them to start calling things, and I thought they did a great job of that, honestly. I thought the refs were great." A committee of people. She said it out loud. She confirmed that the league had been pressured into changing its approach. The corrupt narrative that had followed her since her rookie year, she just validated every word of it. Clark continued, explaining why this change mattered, not just for her, but for the entire league. "Players aren't getting held, and it was both ways. I think overall it's going to improve the product. At times it can make the game choppy, but I think overall it's going to improve the product." The message was unmistakable. The officiating had been broken. The league had been letting players get away with physical play that endangered careers. And now, finally, after years of pressure from fans, from players, from a committee of people that Clark refused to name but clearly existed, change was coming. She didn't stop there. She put the entire situation in perspective, acknowledging that preseason officiating is always different from the regular season. She said, "It's preseason, so you're probably going to see more fouls called, but I think overall it's going to improve the product." Then she added something that should terrify the rest of the league. "Honestly, I thought the refs were great." Caitlin Clark praising the referees after a flagrant foul that could have ended her season, after a player undercut her on a three-point attempt and sent her crashing to the floor. That wasn't diplomacy, that was a statement. She was telling the world that the only reason she was still standing was because the league had finally been forced to do its job. The post-game interview sent shockwaves through social media. Fans who had been screaming for years that Clark was being targeted finally felt vindicated. The corrupt narrative that had been dismissed as paranoia was now confirmed by the league's biggest star. She just confirmed everything we've been saying. There was a committee. They wanted to start calling things. The league knew it was broken, and they fixed it because of her, one fan wrote on X. Another fan posted, Caitlin Clark just called the WNBA's officiating corrupt without using the word corrupt. That's how you handle business. Against the Wings, Clark finished with 21 points on 4 of 6 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3, and an astonishing 11 of 13 from the free throw line, all in just 16 minutes of action. 11 free throw attempts in 16 minutes. That's not a coincidence. That's the committee of people doing their job. The truth is, I landed on my kneecap really hard, Clark admitted after being asked about the flagrant foul that ended her night early. Her voice was calm, measured, but there was something underneath it. Exhaustion, frustration, relief that someone was finally listening. The Fever lost the game, 95-80. The preseason doesn't matter, but what Clark said after the game, that matters. Because she didn't just talk about one foul, she talked about a system, a culture, a league that had failed to protect her players for years. And she made it clear, she's done being quiet about it. The league is scrambling, the referees are on notice, and Caitlin Clark is no longer protecting anyone but herself.
The post-game interview room at Gainbridge Fieldhouse was crowded. Reporters elbow to elbow, cameras jostling for position, all of them waiting to hear from Caitlin Clark after her first home game in 9 months. They expected to ask about the win, except the Fever had lost, 95-80. They expected to ask about her 21-point performance, 14 of them in the first quarter alone. They expected to ask about her chemistry with rookie Raven Johnson, about the new roster, about championship expectations. Then, Alanna Smith undercut her on a three-point attempt. Clark's knee buckled, the arena went silent, and the entire focus of the post-game shifted. What Clark said next has been replayed thousands of times, not because she was angry, because she was calm, measured, and absolutely devastating. "I thought the refs did a really good job tonight, actually," Clark told reporters, according to multiple reports from the game. "And that's kind of been their focus going into this season. I know there's a committee of people that really wanted them to start calling things, and I thought they did a great job of that, honestly. I thought the refs were great." A committee of people. She said it publicly. She confirmed that the WNBA had been pressured into changing how games are officiated. The corrupt narrative that had followed her since her rookie season, the idea that referees were letting opponents hack her with impunity, wasn't paranoia. It wasn't fan exaggeration. It was real. And now Clark was confirming it with her own words. For years, the debate had raged. Was Clark actually being targeted, or were her fans just seeing things that weren't there? The numbers told one story. In her first 2 seasons, Clark was one of the most fouled players in the league, yet she rarely got the whistle. Opponents knew they could be physical with her without consequence. The Caitlin Clark rules became a running joke among Fever fans, the rules that seemed to apply to everyone except their superstar. But Clark had never complained, not publicly, not directly. She let her game speak. She let her fans fight her battles. She stayed quiet while the league office stayed silent. Until April 30, 2026. Clark didn't name names. She didn't have to. Everyone knew who the committee of people was. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert made officiating a priority this offseason, pushing referees to draw a clearer line on physical contact and blow the whistle more consistently. Clark's comment was confirmation that the pressure had come from somewhere and that it had worked. "I think overall it's going to improve the product," Clark continued.
At times, it can make the game choppy, but I think overall it's going to improve the product. Players aren't getting held, and it was both ways. I thought they did a good job both ways. The phrase, "it was both ways," was crucial. Clark wasn't asking for special treatment. She wasn't demanding that referees protect her while letting everyone else get mauled. She was asking for consistency, for the same rules to apply to everyone. And on Thursday night against the Wings, that's exactly what she got. The numbers backed her up. Clark shot 13 free throws in just 16 minutes of action, converting 11 of them. That's not a statistical anomaly. That's the committee of people doing their job. That's referees finally calling the game the way it was supposed to be called. But here's the part of Clark's comments that the headlines missed. She wasn't just talking about herself. She was talking about the entire league. "It's going to improve the product," she said. "The players aren't getting held." That's not a superstar demanding special treatment. That's a competitor who understands that better officiating benefits everyone. When defenders can't hold, grab, and undercut with impunity, the game becomes faster, more fluid, more exciting. The product improves. Ratings go up. The league grows. Clark understands this because she's been studying the league's financials as closely as she studies opponents' defensive schemes. The new CBA raised salaries. The new broadcast deal is worth $2.2 billion. The league is more popular than ever. But all of that growth is fragile. It depends on the product on the court. And the product on the court depends on officiating that protects players without interrupting flow. Clark's comments weren't just smart. They were strategic. She was sending a message to the league office. "We're watching, we're paying attention, and we expect you to keep your promises." The fans noticed. Social media exploded within minutes of Clark's post-game interview being posted. The corrupt narrative that had been dismissed as conspiracy theory was now confirmed by the league's biggest star. "She just verified it," one fan wrote on X. "There's a committee. They wanted to start calling things. The league knew it was broken. They fixed it because of her." Another posted, "Caitlin Clark praised the refs after getting undercut and landing on her surgically repaired knee. That's not being nice. That's sending a message. I see you. We're watching. Keep it up." A third fan captured the irony perfectly. "The most fouled player in the league just thanked the refs for finally doing their job. That's not a compliment. That's a receipt." Clark could have used her platform to blast the league. She could have demanded Smith's suspension. She could have reignited the officiating debate that has consumed WNBA discourse for 2 years. She didn't. Instead, she took a different approach. She praised the progress, she acknowledged the change, and she made it clear that she's been paying attention to who's been fighting for her behind the scenes. "I know there's a committee of people that really wanted them to start calling things." That committee included fans. It included media members who had been sounding the alarm for years. It included former players who spoke out about the physicality Clark was facing. And it included Clark herself, quietly, behind the scenes, using her influence to push for change. Now that change is here, and Clark is making sure everyone knows it.
While Caitlin Clark was carefully choosing her words in the post-game interview room, another battle was raging on social media. The fans who had been screaming for years that Clark was being targeted finally felt vindicated, and they weren't holding back. The clip of Smith undercutting Clark spread like wildfire within minutes of the game ending. Fans clipped it from every angle. Slow-motion replays showed Smith's foot sliding into Clark's landing zone with no attempt to avoid contact. The WNBA's official X account posted the clip with a neutral caption, but the comments section told the real story. "That's a flagrant 2. She landed on her knee, the same knee that already had surgery. Suspend her," one fan wrote. "Alanna Smith should be embarrassed. That's not basketball. That's attempted murder," another posted. Clark gets up, hits her free throws, and doesn't complain. Meanwhile, the league has been letting this happen for 2 years. Disgraceful. But the fans didn't stop at criticizing Smith. They turned their attention to the league office, to the referees, to everyone who had allowed this culture of physicality to fester. She said there's a committee. A committee! That means the league knew it was a problem and only fixed it because people demanded it. That's not leadership.
That's damage control. The committee of people that Clark mentioned became an instant talking point. Who were they? How long had they been pushing for change? And why had it taken this long for the league to listen? Clark didn't answer those questions. She didn't need to. By simply acknowledging that the committee existed, she had confirmed what fans had suspected all along. The league's officiating problems weren't accidental. They were systemic. And they had only been addressed because enough people demanded it. The fan outrage reached a fever pitch by the next morning. Hashtags trended, comment sections overflowed. The WNBA's official social media accounts were flooded with demands for Smith's suspension. And through all of it, Clark stayed calm. She didn't retweet the outrage. She didn't pile on. She didn't demand justice. She just kept playing basketball. But her silence on social media was deafening, because everyone knew that Clark had seen the comments. She had seen the outrage, and she had chosen not to engage. That's not weakness. That's strategy. Clark knows that the best way to respond to cheap shots is to win. She knows that the best way to silence critics is to perform. And she knows that the best way to force the league to protect her is to keep showing up, keep playing through pain, and keep making the money. The fans are outraged. The league is scrambling. Alanna Smith is probably checking her mentions with dread. But Caitlin Clark, she's already thinking about the regular season, about the Liberty on May 9th, about the championship that has eluded her so far. The foul happened, the knee buckled, the arena went silent, but Clark got up, she hit her free throws, and she walked off the court under her own power. The fans will keep fighting, the league will keep scrambling, but Clark will keep playing. And that's the most powerful statement of all.
The game ended. The Fever lost, 95-80. Clark limped to the locker room, the media filed their reports, and then something unexpected happened. The WNBA didn't suspend Alanna Smith. No fine, no suspension, no statement from the league office condemning the play. Just a flagrant one foul assessed during the game and silence afterward. Fans expected outrage from the league. They expected accountability. They expected the committee of people that Clark had mentioned to make an example of Smith, to send a message that undercutting shooters would not be tolerated. Instead, the league did nothing. The silence from the WNBA front office was deafening, and it contradicted everything Clark had said just hours earlier about the referees doing a great job and the committee of people finally forcing change. One fan captured the frustration perfectly. Clark says there's a committee. She says they wanted to start calling things. Then she gets undercut and the league does nothing. Make it make sense. The inconsistency was impossible to ignore. The referees had called the flagrant foul during the game. That was progress. But the league office had the opportunity to send a stronger message, to suspend Smith, to fine her, to make it clear that this kind of play would not be tolerated. And they chose not to. Clark's post-game comments took on new meaning in light of the league's inaction. She had praised the referees for calling the flagrant foul. She had acknowledged the committee's work in pushing for change, but she hadn't said a word about punishments beyond the game itself. Was she protecting the league? Was she protecting herself? Or was she simply choosing her battles, knowing that the regular season was just days away and she couldn't afford to be distracted by a controversy that the league had already decided to ignore? The fans weren't as measured. They demanded answers. They demanded accountability. They demanded that the league protect its biggest star. Clark has been undercut more times than any player in the league, one fan wrote. At some point, it stops being a coincidence and starts being a pattern. The league needs to protect her before she gets seriously hurt. Another fan pointed out the obvious. If that was LeBron James, the other player would be suspended for a month. The WNBA doesn't treat its stars the way the NBA does. That's a problem. The comparison to the NBA was unavoidable. When a defender undercuts a star player in the NBA, the response is swift and severe. Fines, suspensions, public statements from the league office. The WNBA, by contrast, has consistently taken a lighter touch, allowing physical play to escalate, letting defenders get away with contact that would be flagrant in any other context. Clark has been on the receiving end of that lighter touch her entire career. She's been shoved, elbowed, undercut, and targeted, and the league has rarely intervened. Until now, maybe. The referees called the flagrant foul. That's progress.
but the league office's silence suggests that the committee of people Clark mentioned still has work to do. Alanna Smith, for her part, didn't comment on the play. Her teammates defended her, as teammates always do, but the footage didn't lie. Smith's foot was in Clark's landing zone. There was no attempt to avoid contact. It was a dangerous play, regardless of intent. The WNBA's inaction sends a message not just to Clark, but to every player in the league. Dangerous plays will be punished with a flagrant foul during the game, but not with suspensions or fines afterward. The league is relying on referees to protect players in real time, not on its own disciplinary apparatus. Clark has accepted that reality. She got up, she hit her free throws, she walked off the court, she praised the referees, she moved on. But the fans haven't moved on, and they're not going to forget. The regular season starts May 9th. Clark will be on the court, the Liberty will be waiting, and everyone will be watching to see if the committee of people is still paying attention.
So where does this leave us? Caitlin Clark watched Alanna Smith slide under her feet on a three-point attempt, landing directly on her surgically repaired knee, the same knee, the one that already cost her 27 games last season. The arena went silent. Fever fans held their breath. And then Clark did something that has the entire WNBA in chaos. She limped to the microphone after the game and broke her silence on the league's officiating. She named the committee of people who would finally force the league to start calling flagrant fouls. She praised the referees for doing a great job. And she made it clear she's done being quiet about the physical play that has defined her career. But here's the truth that nobody's talking about. The league didn't suspend Alanna Smith. No fine, no statement, just a flagrant one foul assessed during the game and silence afterward. The committee of people that Clark mentioned, they're not done yet, because Clark's injury scare exposed something that the league has been trying to hide for years. The officiating is inconsistent, the punishments are weak, and the players are paying the price with their bodies. Clark's post-game comments weren't just about one play. They were about a system, a culture, a league that has allowed physical play to escalate because it's afraid of being seen as soft. She called out the committee. She confirmed that fans weren't imagining things, and she did it all while limping because even after getting undercut, she got up, hit her free throws, and walked off the court under her own power. "I know there's a committee of people that really wanted them to start calling things," Clark said. "Those words will echo through the league for the rest of the season, because now everyone knows that the league knew. The league knew that players were being targeted. The league knew that the officiating was inconsistent, and the league only started calling things because a committee of people, fans, media, former players, maybe Clark herself, demanded it." The Fever lost to the Wings 95-80. The preseason doesn't matter, but what Clark said after the game matters. She didn't just answer questions, she set a narrative. She told the story of her career, the physical play, the missed calls, the frustration that she swallowed for 2 years. And she did it without anger, without accusations, without drama. She simply told the truth. The fans are outraged. The league is scrambling. Alanna Smith is probably checking her mentions with dread. But Caitlin Clark? She's already thinking about the regular season, about the Liberty on May 9th, about the championship that has eluded her so far. The foul happened. The knee buckled. The arena went silent. But Clark got up. She hit her free throws, and she walked off the court under her own power. The fans will keep fighting. The league will keep scrambling. But Clark will keep playing. And that's the most powerful statement of all. The corrupt narrative that has followed Clark since college, she just confirmed every word of it. The committee exists. The league changed because of pressure, and Clark is no longer protecting anyone but herself. Now the question is, will the league protect her?